We're live.
All right, we're live. Today is Thursday, June 18th. This is our design and user experience meeting for Backdrop CMS. Before we get to the agenda items, let's go around and do quick introductions. If you could say what's your name, where you're from, and if there's anything you want to share with us in 30 seconds or less that's not on the agenda, we'll go ahead and do that. Gregory, do you want to go first?
Yep. Hi, I'm Greg. I have the munchies. I'm Grace. I'm doing something. Sorry. I'm joining just to check up on what's the latest with design issues in Backdrop and help wherever I can.
Great. Luke, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I am Luke McCormick. I'm a web product manager in San Ramon, California, dialing in today. So I will try to keep myself muted at times when I'm in noisy environments. I am leading up the Ready to Wear theme initiative, and I've got all sorts of related things that I'll probably try to sneak into this meeting as well as into the dev meeting coming up.
I am Jen Lampton. I'm calling in from Oakland, California. Yeah, nothing exciting to share. Oh, except for that I also have the munchies, but I don't have anything nearby to nibble on, so later. It's a cherry season here in California, so yesterday I ate like half a pound of cherries, so I'm really excited about finishing those. All right, moving on. I'm sure that was more than 30 seconds. So for the design and user experience meeting, we have a theme initiative update section in the agenda, but now that the Ready to Wear theme initiative is part of our weekly development meeting, I'm not sure we need to talk about it also in the design and user experience meeting. But I thought if there was anything in particular that we might want to dive into, Luke, in more detail, like if there's something you need help with, and we have specific items we want to call attention to that might be worth mentioning in here. I don't know if there's anything valuable to do today, but I was going to mention that I think we should maybe remove this section from this agenda since it now has its own section in the other agenda. Okay.
Jen, before we move on, Jen, can you please share the link to the agenda?
Oh yeah, I will post it both in the chat on this meeting, chat, bam, and in Zulip for anyone else that might not be in the meeting yet. Sorry about that.
Oh, all right. So here, let me talk to that a little bit, because I think there might be facets to it that are appropriate for actually each of the three meetings. There's like design aspects, there's outreach aspects, and there's, you know, obviously the development and code, project management side to it. But in terms of the design, since this is the design meeting, I wanted to talk to that a little bit, because a lot of what, like, the core itch that's being scratched by the initiative has to do with design, and the idea that there's an audience of people that want good design but have no clue as to how to make that themselves, and that the best they're going to be able to come up with is choosing, you know, A, B, C, or D, and picking things. So where the design aspect comes in, design meeting, is so what are those options? What are the things that people choosing a web design, what drives their decision? What do they see? And I'll give like an obvious one that I'm aware of. There's dark and light themes where the text is, black on light or a light color on a dark background. Like that. That's two options. But So I know that's a little broad to sort of, that's not a question that there's an obvious answer for to the meeting, but that's the kind of stuff that I'm wrestling with. More directly design related, I discovered this week that there were a few sort of good looking backdrop themes that I'd never found, and I'm just kind of curious, are there a lot of those out there? Like specifically, I found Ryan Drama's starch theme. It was beautiful, and I was like, oh, there we go. There's a nice, good looking, ready to go theme. Are there more of those? All right, over.
Greg, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, other than the fact that I like the initiative and where this is going, yes, it's going to be a bit tricky to figure out the details and how to move forward because it is a huge subject and there's a lot of moving parts that we need to figure out how to sort of like make it work in a way that the user experience is as less daunting as possible, I guess. My thoughts is that if we want to provide as many options as possible to people, is that all the themes that will be part of this initiative should have, not from the get-go, but eventually the potential to have color support, so that people can use existing mechanisms in Backdrop to just customize it for their own website. And then at some point, maybe this is to be added. I think that we have an issue for it. I just remembered it the other day because I was reading those discussions. It was something that Wes sort of like had as a dream or as an idea that you would provide Backdrop with the logo of your business, and then Backdrop would extract the basic colors of your logo or whatever, and then adapt the current theme to use those colors or variations of it. And there were a few ready-to-use libraries like native PHP that would do that for you. Like you would say, here's an image, I want you to extract the colors of this image and I want 6 colors, and then, I don't know, put them around the elements inside, and that would be really awesome. So if we could do that with...
I like the logic of what you're saying, but I've seen people do this a lot, and the end result is always really terrible websites. I think designers everywhere would agree that like there is something to a good design that you can't do by like extracting a hex code from a thing. And I know like based on the color support that we saw in like Drupal 6 and Drupal 7 land, like everybody changed the colors of their like Garland's website, and it always looked like 100 times worse than it did originally. So I think that like we should not provide utilities for making really ugly websites, at least not in core. I would like to see, like I like the idea of color support because I think people should be able to customize colors, but I also feel pretty strongly that like what we should give them are predefined color sets. Like, you know how you can do that where you can say, oh, like make it sort of like this or sort of like that, and it'll change all of it at once. And every one of those sets should be like designer approved in that like, it shouldn't be like created by a machine and then be like, oh, sure, that'll work. But giving people the ability to take that designer approved color and change like one thing, I think is I mean, it's a slippery slope because they can change whatever they want, but it's more helpful than just being like, here, a robot made this for you. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, like the colors that are going to be chosen and the foreground and background thing. Are they going to be readable? Like there's got to be accessibility concerns as well. My point was that for those people like myself that are like have no design or sense of, I don't know, what is beautiful and whatnot, and they're not creative people. And they're like, all right, I need to start, like, I need to present something beautiful, either like for me to start my own thing or for a customer. And the customer just didn't come to me with any design at all, any colors at all. So it wouldn't be something that would lock them down. It would be something that would, you know, they could click it and randomize things until they say, oh, I'm happy with this one now. Let's tweak it a little bit more. Let's make this red a little bit lighter. Let's make this
I still
blue.
feel like you'd be better off installing a contrib theme and not touching it at all than you would
Ah, fair enough.
any kind of like, I'm gonna pull a hex code out of nowhere and like hope it's not broken.
Well,
At least in terms
Yeah,
of like, there's also this like, what do we want to present to the world, right? Because you're talking about a use case
exactly.
where like you don't care what it looks like, the client doesn't care what it looks like, and you're running on something that's like sort of okay. But if you're trying to like advertise Backdrop as being like a platform for beautiful websites, like that is not going to do it. Like that's, we're going to end up in Drupal 6 land with like, this is my yellow garland website. And it's like, yeah, there's power in it being customizable, but
No,
like that yellow garland
yeah.
website is not going to sell Backdrop to anyone.
Yeah, hey, Jen,
Yeah.
Jen, you actually said exactly what I was going to interject in there. But so the color modules that we have now, do they have the idea in it of palettes? Because
Yes, we have color
all right,
sets.
so I would greatly support the idea of themes coming with some number of distinctly approved color sets that wouldn't necessarily cross between themes. They might be theme specific, but just so that, again, the idea of, okay, you know, choose the shirt off the rack, the ready to wear kind of thing. And it's like, okay, well, pick one of these color palettes. And that can be another thing that people who aren't super duper sophisticated are still able to do. Like, oh, okay, there's 5 palettes. Well, let me look at the 5 palettes and see which one I want to go with.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be fantastic.
People from changing things with color. I think like you get the 5, but there's no way you could say like you're not allowed to change the header background. It's all
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, once you start with something usable, if they want to go screw it up or improve it or whatever, if they want to change it, like we don't want to lock them down. We want to give them the freedom to do that. We just don't want to force them to do it if they don't want to. Is my whole point.
What was that?
Sorry, Joseph wanted. Yeah.
There actually is a way to restrict certain colors from being changed. So you can say like this one color code here, don't change it ever.
Yeah.
And it's just that the way to do that's not really documented very well. And it's convoluted. Like you have to put comments and then the color module reads your comments.
Yeah. So I was looking, I was trying to explore the idea of making the color palettes that we have for bases be shareable. But the thing is that the color palette itself doesn't do anything. It needs to be tied, like its color needs to be tied to a specific element on the page. So for that idea to work, we would have to have one-on-one sort of like components or elements in the themes that match between each other. Otherwise, we're not doing anything for it. So, yeah.
I don't think that, and I also feel like you would kind of want to show off the versatility of Backdrop, and if you limited, I don't know, like it just, I feel like having the ability to have completely different things is good, and that could be completely different color palettes, it could be completely different elements on the page, and I wouldn't want to try and like even recommend predefined like here's 5 color palettes, because I think that's going to end up limiting what we get in the end. And everything should be like, I mean, I don't know. So design is also something, let me preface this, that I don't really understand. Like I can look at something that's beautiful and be like, wow, that's amazing. I have no idea like how, like what makes it amazing or how it was made in the first place. But I do think that there is something that like, you know, a designer could look at 2 things that are completely different and pull out like, oh, this color is the same, right? And I wouldn't know. Like, order out an image in one and like a background of everything. I don't know. And I think that like you could like recommend stuff like that, but I also think that it would be limiting, and I would rather everything sort of be wide open. I'm not sure that like I feel like the tools that we have for this, they aren't perfect, but like we have color module, we have the ability to provide palettes, we have the ability to let you change color. I feel like that all of that is probably enough. Like it's probably too much, but I wouldn't want to take away anyone's tools. I feel like I would be more focused on like how can we make the things that we're getting from the tools we have better, rather than how can we add more tools to make it more that might accidentally make it more complicated.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, my recommendation here wouldn't be to add more capabilities, but just to add presets. Like if it's possible to have palette presets that you can choose, then we're done. If not, let's have that because that's really what I want is I want palette presets.
Yeah.
And if they're hard to find, I mean if they're buried, let's surface them. Let's make it so that they're easy for beginners to find when they need them.
Yeah, no, I don't think we need to work on that at all. I think that problem has been solved for a decade or so. I think we need to figure out how to take the themes we have that may or may not already have this support and make them more feature complete so that people can actually use them.
Okay.
Them needing to add to them.
All right. Now when you say feature complete, I'm guessing this is something important I should be tracking. I kind of haven't been. Like what features are often missing?
Well, I mean, this is all the stuff that we were talking about before about like making sure that all of the themes we have support all the core layouts and making sure that they handle like a view with teasers and like maybe an item list or, all of those common elements that maybe don't exist on the site the theme was built on, but are gonna probably exist on every site you're gonna put it on later. We're not gonna be able to get everything covered because again, part of what makes Backdrop powerful is that you can do anything. But having some standards, I think, would be good, so that when you take a
although
it looks nice on your site.
I had an inspiration this morning, and it might not be true. So let me bounce this off you and tell me if this is accurate. But I was thinking about themes because this is on my mind these days, and it occurred to me that all a theme does is it displays region content, right? Like the whole rest of Backdrop, the whole rest of the internet, everything that flows into it, the theme doesn't know about that. All the theme knows is it's got variables that fit into each region, and it just fits those into that spot. Is that accurate?
You're thinking of Drupal 7. In Backdrop, all a theme is a skin. It doesn't know anything about regions. It doesn't know anything about where anything is on the page. It's just a set of colors and styles.
Yeah.
Flavor what you're.
I'm thinking the stuff I'm talking about has been moved into layout.
Yep.
All right.
So basically, the whole idea with Backdrop is that if you swap a theme, it won't break your site. Like the regions are going to still be there, and all that will change will be the styling, colors, fonts, sizes, things like that.
All right. Well, hey, I'm sorry. Let me finish. But I got something else. Go ahead.
So that's why we have the layout templates, which are flexible, which means that every theme does not have to implement this responsive thing. Like it's been handled by the layout. So as long as you make sure that the layout is responsive, no matter what theme you put on top of it, it's still going to be responsive. So there's benefits there. Other things that I was thinking is user adoption, right? And one of the most frequent questions that I expect to be is that not questions rather than expectations is that as a backend user, like a person exploring what the features of Backdrop is as a CMS, like as a tool to build your website, is just navigating the backend, right? And these people might be coming from different other CMSs, like they might be coming from Drupal, they might be coming from WordPress. I've noticed that a lot of people prefer the minimal theme for their backend, and I was wondering, like, what makes it popular? Why people install it and use it? Is it the color palette that it's using? Because I know that theme implements also, like in the Drupal land, it also implements things like search fields in the modules page or in the permissions page. These things are things that we've either done in Backdrop already, and so that every theme would inherit it, or we have plans to do it. So we shouldn't bother ourselves with that kind of functionality. I often
although what we might want to worry about is if people don't realize that functionality is there, it could be a documentation or interface issue. It could be that the software already does it, but people aren't finding it, and thus we're not getting credit for it. So they and that sounds like easy thing to fix compared to implementing new features.
Yeah, so I was going to the appearance page, and I was trying to think it from a perspective of a person that is new to Backdrop, not necessarily with Drupal knowledge either. So we are happy that we have the project browser for modules and themes. But if I'm a person that is evaluating Backdrop and I go to the appearance page, that install new theme is the project browser basically is something that we as a community are very excited, and we know how to use the tool. We are aware of its existence. We know that we have to do another 3 or 4 or 5 steps, and then we'll get more themes, right? But for a person that is like clicking through, quickly evaluating the product as it is, it doesn't become apparently obvious. Like I wouldn't, and it comes to like at the moment that I read install new themes, it is another thing that I have to do. It's not something ready there. I don't want us to go down the path of Drupal where they add experimental things and then they might remove it or whatever. So the idea with modules was that we would have promoted modules, and those would be at the top of the project browser. But I was thinking that for themes specifically, we could have things appear in the actual appearance page, non-installed, like popular themes that we want to promote or that are a lot popular. And see how in the themes page we have for each theme, disable, enable, set default, set enable and set default, or settings. We could show another 2 or 3 popular themes that make it seem that Backdrop actually has this variety of themes in that page, and have one link say install. And then the tab that says install new themes would be, oh, there's many more. You can go here as well. But these are the popular ones. These are the ones that we've checked that they work with every, what you call it, layout, so they are approved or what have you, right? In other words, I was trying to lower the barrier of people finding that there are beautiful, workable themes for Backdrop without having to notice that there's an install new themes thing, right?
I love that idea. I think especially like if we can come up with criteria that'll determine like what might make a theme an approved or promoted or whatever we want to call it, recommended theme.
So
that would also
I had a few ideas on that. I had a few ideas on that. So what Drupal was trying to solve with experimental modules is that they wanted them to be to promote them as part of the product that when it was installed out of the box. But what they got themselves into was that they sort of like got into the situation where when they decide that for whatever reason that they're not a good fit anymore, they would come into a situation where what are we doing with existing sites that are using them? We cannot just simply remove them out of core. And then they came up with this experimental idea, which is basically doing that, but warning people, and people, that they don't pay attention to warnings. So I was thinking that what we could do on our end is that we can officially find a way to decide which these things would be promoted. And what this would mean is that there's a lot of people from the active members of the community that actually pay attention to any bugs, and we sort of like support them, but not as part of core. But we have more eyes on them. There's how can I put it? Like the rest of the contrib is best effort by the people, the owners, the maintainers of these projects. But these 2 or 3 designs would also have the attention and the eyes of the core team, so to say. So yeah, that was an idea. I'm not sure what the process would be around it, but that was my thought.
All right. Well, I've got something to say about this. I mean, it strikes me that this is related to what you're. That was part of what you were saying there. It is since we've moved so much of the functionality of what in other systems, in WordPress and in Drupal and Joomla and things like that, are called themes. And I'm sorry, I'm bringing this back to my initiative here. Ready to wear should involve layouts too. It's not just ready to wear themes. Since layouts are such a key thing, like themes and layouts and who knows, maybe modules or content or configuration or other things. Like it seems like if we've factored it into various places to make it more logically sensible for us, we have to take responsibility for that and
Yes.
and guide users to okay, and still give them the A, B, C, D choices, right? Like if you
Yeah.
and it could be a piece of menu, it could be like a Chinese menu thing where you get, you know,
Yeah. Now
choose
you're
your
getting
sauce,
into
choose your base, choose your thing, but yeah.
yeah. Now you're getting into the area of what we sort of like decided to call unofficially as recipes. So things that
Yeah.
include, installing a theme, a layout, some modules, whatever, and then they give you something ready-made to use. Which I'm
Well,
not saying that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there might be an easier way. I mean, I'm not looking right now, but the appearance menu item in backdrop leads you to themes, right? And like layouts is a
Yeah.
separate thing.
It
seems like
is
appearance.
hidden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Structure,
It seems like
layouts
appearance.
are actually. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
We need to move layouts higher in the hierarchy into visibility, so that when people go to appearance, they're like, okay, choose your layout, choose your theme, choose, you know, your logo. Like it feels like that has to be more obvious.
Well, if you're talking about moving it out of the structure menu, maybe that's not a nice idea. And I think that would be that would be because it will break things backdrop 2.0 thing. What we can do and what we have successfully done in the past is provide hints or links that connect the dots. This is something that sort of like trademark, but then, so she mentioned it, put things where people expect to find them. So
Yeah.
if, I hear you that if layouts is something that needs to go hand in hand with the thing that you sort of like with anything, not specific case, then we should make it obvious from the themes page that you sort of like need to configure or install or choose a layout or something. I don't know if that is a documentation or a link to the structure page or what have you, but yeah. My point was that for people that are coming from other CMSs and they're evaluating the product, uh, people like thumbnails. So the appearance page does that. We already have thumbnails. We already give them an idea of what a theme would look like. Uh, and if they go to the settings or customize the theme, then they have the live preview that we've added, so they can play around with it if it has color support. So we're there. It's just that there's things that can be done to improve things further, so that people evaluating the product do less and they get what the product can do with less steps. That's my point.
Yeah. All right.
And the other thing was you'll have those people that are, for one reason or the other, either them as a site builder, as a site administrator, or their content editors are used to a theme that they use in Drupal or in WordPress. So maybe we could tweak the existing 7 theme to have a WordPress feel like whatever. So in other words, a person from WordPress or from Joomla tries Backdrop for the first time, and then they say, "Oh, I'm annoyed by the fact that the menu is at the top." Then we can go and say, "You know what? There's an option for you to just put it on the side, but like WordPress used to do it." And
Oh, I love the idea of emulating our competitors' administration
Yes.
interfaces.
Yeah.
I've contemplated doing that for WordPress all the time. You know, just recreating WP admin in, you know, other platforms.
Yes, and we're doing things for that, like Jen's pull request to remove to remove the theme, I think, from the login page. It's sort of like doing that now,
Oh yeah,
which is
yeah.
yeah. So once that gets in, it's going to be, and it's something that other CMSs are doing, and it's successful. I have to admit that it makes more sense. It sort of makes sense for people that are trying to log in, that I'm going to a section of the site that is different from what the site visitors are seeing. So I'm going to the backend now. So it makes sense for them. But the reason why I made the proposals, all the discussion that we just had now, is that I know that there's a lot of work done in the new Claro theme for Drupal 9, and people might be saying, you know, using that as an excuse or a reason to not choose Backdrop and say, oh, you know what, there's a lot of work that's done in Claro, and I would love to have a theme like that. So if we had the respective theme and say, all right, if you for whatever reason you feel more comfortable using a Drupal theme, a Drupal 8 theme, or a clone of it, right? It's available. Be that the new Clara theme or the Adminimal theme. But yes, like, and I'm talking about the most popular ones, right? Which in my head, they're like 2 or 3 of them. They're not a lot. But the next question is like, who does the effort of actually porting them? And are we putting them into core? I would rather not, because then it would increase the overhead. But yeah, I don't know. Jen, Joseph, you guys, what are your thoughts?
I
Silence.
vote for not putting them in core.
Yes, I would also like to keep them decoupled, but I would like an easier way for people to discover them. Like, as I said before, we know that the project browser is there and we're super excited for that feature, but it's not apparently obvious to everyone.
So I just threw a link into chat that summarizes your request for putting promoted themes in core.
Thank you. And explains your silence then. You were focused on that. Thank you.
So I was writing that up because I'm like, I love this idea. I don't want it to get lost.
Yeah. It wouldn't get lost. You know me.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't specifically mention that they needed to appear on the appearance page, but I mentioned that. I figured as a starting move, since we're working on like recommended modules, we could do that same thing on the installer, and that way we would have the same same sort of handling in both places, and we wouldn't need to special case anything. But I did also highlight that I think it would be good to have them on the appearance page, or if somebody thinks it would be good, I think it would be good too.
Yeah.
And then I added a couple of lists of things that we need to figure out how to do, like the criteria for what makes a theme feature complete or not should be both determined and publicized somewhere so that people know, like, how do I get my theme up here? Like, they will have a list of things that they need to do. We also might need to have a person or a team of people who are responsible for reviewing the themes to make sure that they're feature complete, and maybe even a process for somebody to submit their theme for review. So if you had one that didn't previously make it that was reviewed, but you fixed it, some way to flag people who are in charge of doing the review to be like, hey, I fixed this thing. Or if you have a new one that's maybe not on someone's list yet, that might be good too.
Yeah.
And then
there's ways to sort of like, for example, we like to help the decision of what gets promoted. We can look at the usage stats. We have that now. So if we see out of the 10 or 12 themes, most of them are being used in 1 or 5 sites, and then we have 100 sites using the same admin theme, then we know it's a popular one. So there's one candidate there. And because we are not going to be actually including it in core, we won't get into the same trouble that people got into in Drupal. It will have more freedom. That's what I'm saying. So every suggestion that I'm making, as you know, guys, I don't personally like work on actual sites, but we support, like the agency that I work for supports a platform that has more than 500 government sites. And the common thing that I've noticed, and this is why I'm bringing that into the discussion, is that all digital agencies that are helping them in order to accommodate a common patterns in the UI, what they do is they pick the minimal theme, like 90% of them, and they tweak it. And you see that content editors complain if for some reason that changes in the backend. And they complain in the thing, like for a Drupal user, it's like nothing. The theme changed, I can still do my job. But for them, it's like, I cannot work anymore. Like things don't look the way that it used to, so I can't, like, I refuse to work with this. And you're free to consider that silly, but you cannot stop people from feeling that. And these are usually the decision makers, the people that are going to say, yes, use that or not. So if we make them feel comfortable, I guess we'll have more adoption. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also think, though, that if our intent is to make it easier for people to find themes that'll make their site look good immediately, we probably shouldn't be promoting admin themes or starter themes.
Exactly.
That's
Front end.
Yeah, that same kind of effect. Like people aren't necessarily going to know it's an admin theme, even if they read that. if it's promoted, they'll probably think it'll look good on the front end too. And that doesn't, I mean, I don't know, I haven't tried this, but like add minimal might look really good as a front end theme too, right? So, I mean, maybe we shouldn't like specifically rule them out, but that is just something to keep in mind. Like we might have a theme that meets all those requirements, but still doesn't make your site look fantastic on the front end.
And it's the other way around.
I think 7 is. I feel like 7 is better looking than most of the other themes that are built into Drupal, so that doesn't seem at all implausible.
Yeah, look, it's the other way around. I think we also have an issue somewhere to make bases look and work decently when used as an admin theme. It hasn't been worked on, but sort of like at least we spotted which means that people are not using it as a backend. That's my point.
Yeah.
But there's common things like, for example, I heard a couple of guys saying that we would love to have a dark theme as an admin theme. And I would love to spend some time to make the effort and actually make 7, have color support and have the dark thing be a color thingy, whatever.
It doesn't even need to be color support. It could just be a theme setting that's like enable dark mode or something.
Exactly.
Secondary stuff added or something. Yeah.
So small things that would make, as I said, people comfortable working with the backend. Now, the other thing then that you said is we are now making the assumption that people that are looking for a theme that would look beautiful on the site, like a front-end theme, have Backdrop already installed, and they're going to go in the project browser and see and tweak and whatever. So we actually need like that HTML5 app, whatever site was, offers previews. So we need to build something equivalent to the demo thing that shows them what their site would look like with those themes.
So the Backdrop already has that. So we have the tool, we don't have it in the right place, right?
Yes.
We just need to figure out how to do that. I don't know if there's a core issue for this already, but we did talk about it at some point in the last few weeks about how it would be really great if we could give people a preview option for their site in a new theme in the same way that we have it in the current theme in a new color, or the way we have like preview your content. In both those places, we're using an iframe to render an alternate version of the site in a format that you can like click around it, and it's actually your entire site, at least in the case of the theme. And I think that we have the technology, we just don't have an interface yet where we can do that.
Wait, sorry, when you were saying that as in build something on top of backdrop.org, because that's what I was going to. So people come and browse for themes there. So I would like there to be a, sorry, go ahead.
Different things I think we need, and I think we need both of them. I think we need both a place where you can see a demo, like that somebody has assembled of a theme that they've made that can highlight like all of the best parts of it. But then there's also like, what would it look like on my site? And I don't know, like, I don't know how extensive that needs to be, but just the fact that we already have the ability to do like a color change. I mean, obviously you'd have to have the code on your site, so you'd have to have it downloaded already. But maybe if you don't want to commit to it until you preview it, that might be a good place to put that.
So I'm assuming that when you said what would it look in my site, you mean in my existing Backdrop site, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Well, maybe there's a in-between step of maybe there has to be your site specifically, but what if it was a site? Like it strikes me that we could have a certain number of templates that are like just pages that are built out where you can click and like see that page in, arbitrary themes, because all you're doing is switching CSS, right? Isn't that all changing the theme there?
Yeah.
The theme can change the HTML as well.
Yeah.
All right, but there's lots of stuff that's kind of constant there, and it seems like something we could fake. We could have like presets of just pre-filled variables with layouts and content ready to like feed to the theme, so that hey, that's what a page looks like in these 5 different themes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what Luke is saying. the way that I visualize it is that we have a separate demo site, like the Umami thing that Drupal does with fixed content. We don't allow users necessarily to edit so that they won't mess things up for each other. And there are existing tools like the modules like the theme switcher and theme per user things. So we would allow people to just have their own session, and they can independently switch the theme and browse the site with the new theme, but independently from one another. So that would be a great way to do things.
Yeah, I think that's great because that also would give people who are making themes, like, I want it to look good on this particular site, guidance too. So that if you take a site built from one site and you're like, oh, I'm going to contribute it, and you put it on that site and you're like, oh, my site didn't have whatever, it would be really obvious quickly what was missing. Yeah, I like that idea. So I think that we could do that pretty easily. Again, this is more like infrastructure stuff that we don't have that we need. But just with like one website with a couple of scripts that would let us copy the whole thing via Tugboat and download and install a new theme.
All themes, because they need to be available.
Well,
right?
no, like one at a time, right? So like if you want to see one theme, you have one sandbox, you want to see another one, see another copy, but every copy could still get deleted after 24 hours. So that you could be like, show me this site, click, and then you get that one, show me this one, click.
So what I was thinking was a single site that each time that there's a release for a theme, pulls the new version of the theme, and this site would have all themes installed, and it would expose even to anonymous user the theme switcher, so they can browse around without having to wait for even 30 seconds to generate something. That's what I was going at. So something that is a separate domain like backdropthemes.org, and then each person has their own session ID, browser session ID, and they can switch themes and browse the thing with existing content, like dummy content. But every single theme would be available so that they can switch. That was my point.
Well, I also think like it would be good to have it. So that works too, the one site thing. But I don't think people are going to know how to use Theme Switcher to switch themes. I think what they're going to do is go back to where they found the theme and find another theme and click a button. And so we've got to have it set up so that whatever button you click from backdropcms.org will open the other site with the correct theme on it.
So the way that this works with, the way that this works with other services is that they expose a a constant ribbon at the top of the site, which has the controls to switch themes. So I was thinking that we wouldn't allow people to remove those things. We wouldn't allow them to log into the site, but we would make sure that we have built the site with that ribbon at the top, with the theme switcher already exposed as a block there, independently of the rest of the theme. That was my idea.
I still think that that's not going to work. Like most people aren't going to use that ribbon, because how would you know what theme you wanted to see? Like you need somewhere else to do your browsing.
The preview, you mean, of the theme?
What?
You mean select via preview, like see the thumbnail, then pick that?
Yeah,
because I like
how. I think you're right though. I've seen the ribbon other places. Let me see.
So
just really quickly checking out how ThemeForest does this, because every theme on here has a.
Joseph, you were trying. Well, while Jen is looking for that, you were trying to say something.
So, could we, for the ribbon, could we have it where if you clicked on it, it would like expand a bit and then show you previews, and you click on the tile?
Yeah. Even that.
And then you could scroll side to side if there's too many tiles to show.
Actually, yeah, like a sort of like a slideshow with a left-right arrow thing. Browse to the thumbnails and then select one, and boom, it's sort of like it gets the whole site switches to that thing, and then they can browse around. Yeah, that would work from a user experience. Now, technically, what the technical challenges are there? Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could we just show the? Could we just take the thumbnails from the theme, like?
Yeah. We could.
Do themes allow multiple preview images?
We have they do allow them, but we don't take advantage of that in core. I think that we have a ticket somewhere. So when in the project browser you click on the thumbnail, a color box style thing pops up, and then you can do the same thing that.
But I just checked 3 sites and none of them let you change themes from the bar. They all let you buy the theme or download the theme or preview the theme in different sizes, like for mobile, chat about the theme or like it or like add it to your collection. But none of them use that bar for browsing. The browsing all happens on the main website, and there's always like a live preview or demo button that takes you to the example.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that really matters. Like, I think like we'll need to have the bar do something, but I do think that we need to make sure that people can always get to the site with the theme on it from where they browsed for the site. One of the sites didn't even have a way to get back to where you were browsing. The other one had something that's like name of the current theme and then a back arrow, and the back arrow takes you back to the main website where you found it.
Yeah.
But no option to switch to a different theme from that.
Yeah, maybe what I'm thinking is the way that a demo that I've seen with WordPress and how they do it, but I think that I was already logged into a WordPress instance.
But
So
I still think like
it was
architecturally, it doesn't matter whether it's one site with 100 themes or 100 sites. Like as long as there's a link you can click to get to that preview mode, we can put that anywhere.
So were you thinking to do that in its theme as a project in its theme node in bit.org?
Yeah, so like if whatever system we end up setting up on, we could do it in 2 places. We could do it on backdropcms.org. We could also do it in the project browser. So if we had a like live demo button there, that could also.
Oh yeah, that's a nice idea. Yeah. Good ideas all around.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we confused Luke with his initiative specifically.
We're having too many good ideas, people. I think we talked about all this stuff before, but maybe not in this much detail. I don't want to lose this. Is this? So there's 2 things we need to do. One of them is the backdropcms.org task to set up a theme preview thing, which we know we need to do, but I'm not sure there's a specific issue on it. And then the other one is, what was the other thing? Updating. What did we talk about before? Previews. It was.
So the other thing is the issue that you created, the promoted things.
Okay, that was it. There wasn't another thing.
There's a few other things. I mean, or depends on how far back you want to go in the conversation. We were talking about palettes early on, and also the idea of like ready to wear layouts, suggested layouts and kind of like that kind of thing. I'm tracking that, but in case we want to put it in the notes for this, that may or may not be relevant.
It's good that we have a recording of this. We can go back to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we never do. No one ever does that, do they?
I actually do. I used to do it, and then that's why there's like 2,500 issues in the queue because of
Yes.
I do that also. I go back and rewatch the design meeting.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
Okay. Speaking of recordings, I think it's time to end this meeting's recording.
Yeah.
It's time for our developer meeting. Just to review what else was on today's agenda, there were a couple of things for backdropcms.org. I just wanted to highlight that got the security update yesterday, and a couple of pull requests that people have been working on have been merged but not yet deployed. So if there's anything you really want to have work like done on backdropcms.org, it's getting some attention right now. So I wanted to call that out.
I have a quick question and just yes no answer, no elaboration over it. Did we fix the searching of modules and themes on our site? Does it work as expected now?
Yeah, Peter made a pull request that fixed it. The only thing that was missing is that it changed the size of the search box so the design looks kind of funky. And I added a comment with a recommendation on how and where we could put it back, but that hasn't been done yet. I figured I'd give him a chance to do it because I know he likes to sometimes finish his own pull requests. But if he doesn't have a time to do it today, I might go in there and make a pull request against his pull request and see if he wants to use that.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
But yeah, it's close. We sort of decided that we couldn't remember. I'm not sure if you saw it. We mentioned you on that issue. We were like, does anyone remember why we switched from a search field to a combined fields filter? And nobody could remember. We all remembered that we did it, but not remember exactly why. And now we went back. So the current pull request goes back to the search exposed filter. I did find a core issue about search exposed filters and views not working correctly. And then I found a pull request from Nate fixing it without an actual explanation of exactly what the problem was or what it was fixing. So I've put all of that stuff in and I'm testing it. But I'm not entirely sure they're all connected. But yeah, we are working on fixing the search problem.
The last I recall was because we wanted, if someone searches, to also search theme titles and also theme descriptions. That's as far as I remember.
Yeah, so Jeff added that and Peter tested that and it worked. So I don't know if that's because we're like indexing the body field now in addition to the title field or something. I don't know, but it seems to be working. So I think we should try it.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and wrap this meeting because we're already into the dev meeting. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the video.